I'm Tina. This is To the Inner Wild. I am feeling much, much better today. And it is January 21st, 2021. Anyway, this is the second reading. I did one at midnight, but that ended up being a little darker, pertaining to dark magic. So I thought I'd go ahead and just do one right now while I'm feeling good and energized. I had a harder time picking out decks today, so it was picturing in my head like a last resort, but almost as a preference. And this is the one that it ultimately was. And I just noticed how there are two scepters, healing scepters. Anyone who expresses divine royalty has a symbolic reference to it, which is either maybe a shield, a crown, or a scepter. And a scepter is more for power and exercising of it. So there's healing for me and for you. Otherwise, why would there be two, right? I thought that was really cool. Yeah. Anyway, do you see how gangster that is? It's almost like having the sun tatted on his nether regions. Very funny. That's gangster. That's a spiritual gangster. So we're going to remove the Emperor, Three of Wands, and the King of Swords from here. Nine of Discs on the bottom of the deck. So let's focus on abundance, yeah? On a global scale. We have that here in the forefront, and having the strength to make that happen. There's a crown of royalty over the lion's head. So today I'm going to do some housekeeping. I'm actually very excited about that. I've been waiting for a moment to do that where the approach felt just like now. If I approach something with anger, it leads to frustration and almost like a dead end, unfinished goal. In fact, let me tell you how bad it is. I had a headache the other day, but it doesn't excuse the half-eaten apple that's sitting over here. Oh, maybe I'll just pick up that one. Half-eaten apple that's sitting like right here with my phone balanced on top of it. I have no shame up to a certain point. And for that, something as minor as that, I don't mind sharing. Okay. Alright. Angels, guides, guardians, ancestors, higher selves. What would you like to say to the collective being that the globe was at the forefront? Okay, I was just going to do a daily focus card, but it didn't come out as structured as I'd like. It just came out, so... Oh, we have the Eight of Cups. It's shifting our perspective, moving on to greater heights, a greater point of view. Now, the way this is described is almost like a series of buckets rather than cups.
I get mixed up sometimes. So what happened here is Siri picked up on my voice as a random command to search. So what I really think the universe is telling us is that something gets lost in interpretation when we leave something behind. We still carry expectations to where we want to go. Now, opposing the Eight of Swords, stuck energy, the Eight of Cups is much more in flow than flighty with our endeavors. Therefore, going with this fluid-like energy becomes more expansive than we could imagine. It's about having one too many after the usual options presented in the Seven of Cups, compelling us to retrace the steps of the Fool card, journeying on beyond what has been provided. It's knowing when there is an imbalance in such circumstances of having too much of a good thing, which can definitely impact our perspectives and expectations indefinitely if we stay complacent. Ultimately, depriving ourselves of more answers to our inquiries would result in injury, thus become self-defeating. In short, the concept that we have of what an even exchange means when we leave something behind becomes irrelevant and distracting to what the divine has planned for us and how we go about it. Because it's about expanding horizons, not withholding to the possibilities. The context we form internally is a language that can get lost in interpretation upon manifesting, and we can get a little mixed up with each other and ourselves in the process. Now, if we're doing it right, then it's something that we can look back on and laugh at later.
No. No, Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. Oh. Siri, stop. Oh my gosh. Technology is hard for me sometimes. Okay. But do you see that? There's buckets. What should we say about that, though?
So these pails of water may be pale in comparison to what's out there. This is an old-fashioned irrigation system, something that is an integral piece to our survival. When we see it's inefficient, we must do something about correcting it. If we were talking about our comparable bucket lists, we realize it's scripted endeavors coming from the old world perspective and not truly our own as a timeless universal soul. Many spiritualists would agree our lifespan on earth is but a mission of learning and teaching experiences. We are able to identify more clearly with how mundane the bucket list is, as it becomes a cookie-cutter checklist where every destination feels like a tourist trap and a line for Instagram photos. Equipped with our intuition and guides, why wouldn't we take the opportunity to journey further? Why would we drink from a bucket that still leaves us thirsty?
Do you see how this crescent moon is almost eclipse? It surfaces on the top. It's shining down, facing the sun, almost in disgust, if you can see. Resentment. There is a darker aspect to that. I get the feeling of jealousies, but it's not like just the cattiness of jealousies, seeing this sun quality in others, or maybe the sun quality in self, how things used to be, your glory days, and now we're at this point, which is supposedly the pinnacle, the driving force, your point of direction. And it still maintains as a point of direction, but it is not your star quality. It's that secret part of self where this is hidden, almost beyond the atmosphere, out of view. This is what's consuming the view. Center point. What else do we want to say about this? It looks like the sun is embodied in a person, his or her left hand out of the water.
When the sun becomes aware of its solar qualities, it can no longer remain submerged, for by natural law, it will consume the other source, being in close quarters. The water will go through rebirth, evaporating into the air to continue its life cycle. While she or he realizes there are others that source this energy, she or he must eventually emerge to protect it.
Emerging from the emotional bodies and almost reaching out to get up. Or maybe this is the process of detoxification. He's or she is about to pick one up to bathe. The source of these buckets, almost like a well.
This refers to the abundance of the void in human context. We build our own terms, creating a well from a deep cavern, or perhaps a fountain from a series of buckets. We do with what we have, or nothing at all.
What else do we want to get here, angels? There's another one that came with it, which is a 7 of Cups, but it was in reverse. You see that moon again?
Perhaps options are unknown, a mystery currently unseen due to impurities, distractions, or a disarray of noise and clutter in one's life, as this detoxing would imply.
What does that mean?
It often leads to the required introspection. What does that mean for me? As insightful as others may be, only we can truly answer the question to its most authentic form. And it may take a little while to answer that, so we just have to be patient with the process and ourselves in the process.
This 7 of Cups is very different when it's an upright. Almost a distaste for seeing that your options are being depleted by others.
Perhaps because all of the noise, we buy into the belief that the competition exists, and due to the conflict, it directly implies our options are being narrowed down.
So maybe it's releasing that.
Definitely, because that's what the Eight of Cups implies. And it did come out together to support it.
Yeah, do you see this? It's almost like the Wheel of Fortune, where this is almost like you're trapped underneath this. There's stagnation and rumination over your options being consumed by others. And this is a false perception, okay?
At this point, I know who a portion of my audience is, so I'm trying to remain cognizant of any possible biases.
Your feelings may be legitimate based on your experiences that are maybe clouding judgment, but between you and that, there is that Wheel of Fortune, this Ferris wheel, this turn of hand.
This action can only be done when healing is approached with determination, as implied by the serpent's head, which just so happens to be the tail of the beast. This perceived threat is simply a familiar that is meant to learn from and grow with.
So maybe you're moving away from this, and we're still having a hard time.
We have to remember it's normal, because the universe matches our energies to help us learn. I felt the same resistance with having to leave old perceptions and proposed options from my own growth. It was easier when I saw the cycles spiral out of control. I had to drop the crutch that someone else was depleting my options, when they were meant to just be triggers to get myself out of the energy and make the changes necessary. I had to retell my story as if everyone else was an NPC or a non-player character. I rescripted and recoded all of the negative things that were said and done in every context I could cite. I had to look at the backstories of each person who triggered to find out why they had their finger fixed so firmly on their gun. I had to realize why I became an easy target. I had to see myself as their NPC. It took some time, and I'm sharing it with you because I would have liked for someone to share this advice with me in more words than the condescending variations of "stop taking it so personally." I can still see their faces. They were all catty females or pompous males. I can see them thinking their separate thoughts while they said this, drawing back to times when others they were supposed to look up to or depend on were callous to them. I saw how the buck was passed. It helped me put things into perspective without biting a bullet, but rather saving one.
That's okay. It'll be okay.
While our stories aren't the same, there is a common thread. In being so, our struggles are not the same, but rather similar. It's important to keep this in mind when we share our story and while we listen to others.
First off, what landed on that Seven of Cups card is the Empress, but it's in reverse. So someone is not acting within their divinity, even though they are fully capable of it. Very fertile.
This is where we start to see the characters from the macrocosm reflect that of the microcosm.
Yeah, against foot on the moon. When it's in reversal, it's almost like you pay attention more to that moon and you see how it feels almost taken advantage of, like a resting point. It's not in touch, it's used more like a footstool.
I've contemplated on this reading more than I have for most because I wanted to be helpful and reveal both the internal struggles as well as the external while relating to my own solutions. Here I'm reading it as an internal struggle where the current holds all energies, but as I'm editing, I realize I am the Empress and the others are the supporting roles or antagonists I met on my spiritual journey. The interpretations change as we move from character to character. I will elaborate at the very end of what my view is for the sake of being clear with storylines. For now, we mainly read for the next character, the High Priestess.
Then something of respect.
So we may be critical to our experiences rather than attempting to discover its truths, taking our gifts for granted, or not using them for the highest good. In effect, it's similar to self-deceit, shortcutting ourselves to answers rather than finding out the truth.
The Priestess came out in reverse as well. The High Priestess is indicative here also. Yeah, someone's not following their light. Okay, look how crazy this is. Okay, you see your foot is on that, and then that's a left foot. And then there's a rock nearby. Then here, the right foot is on the rock.
So the High Priestess is using her powers to get answers, but all for the wrong reasons. Although she is gifted, her means to create stability is futile and will take more effort than physical grounding or relying on historic foundations.
I think she's grasping for light.
But she too is distracted by the external, demonizing the Empress, believing she is held down and threatened by her. She forgets her own wealth and needs to focus on her own journey, as the Two of Wands or candles would imply.
I think she's trying, and it's very hard. So let's see what else came out. 5, 6, and 11.
This may actually be part of the twin flame journey, for it all equals 1111. Now, whether or not you believe in the solid twin flame journey, my variation in understanding this with spirit is a kin flame bond. It's just a modified version that explains big moves, as indicated here with all major arcana. All of that says that in process after detoxing comes remaining required work. Seeing the Eight of Discs reversed says that it's needed, but it's not being done. We are getting caught up in outside distractions when our energy should be invested in progressive movement, discipline, balance, persistence, to fortify our self-love and self-respect.
Eight of Discs in reverse. Okay, so this person wants to find strength. She wants to find her divine counterpart. She wants to commit to that. She wants the end game, end goal. Hence this big old bucket list.
She denies the existence of twin flames or any other variation as a barrier to protect herself. She particularly is pained from the overall rejection she's experienced in life and cannot bear the same loss from a love interest. If this were not true, then why would there be so much exertion for control?
She wants that to be her star quality.
Why would there be complete denial or skepticism in regards to this topic? And why is it treated so rigidly when the subject itself is unorthodox?
So the strength that she has is exercised in futile manner. It's become almost forceful. You see she's blowing the wind here to make this happen to that. Do you see this? I don't even know if you can see it. She's trying to push her male counterpart to this marriage commitment. And she's drawing in volcanic forces, so there's a lot of volatility in trying to push that to happen. And do you see how upset her familiar is? She's not very connected with it. It's embodying her spirit, which is aloof and anger. I know who I'm reading for. This is rather strange to see it from this side. So don't take this personal. Yeah, see, he's opposing her. Like, it's too much. It's not what I want right now. And she's trying to urge it to happening. She sees the possibility in it. And then here,
this is a third-party issue I got myself caught in the middle of while trying to find my soul tribe. I associated myself with the Empress while she the High Priestess, and we were both involved in some degree of pettiness, which is why we were both in reversal. This is old energy for me, but I can still teach a lesson on how I was schooled in the moment and graduated from its dynamics while still remaining present in the world we both share.
Even after they're wed, she's still unhappy. You see she's pointing in a different direction. Do you see her face? There's a bossiness, a certain amount of aggression tied to this. But he found happiness. He would find happiness either way. It's just that he can't make her happy. And this union won't make her happy. Just because she's unhappy. Okay. I feel like we need to help her out. Okay. What, rather than just pointing things out, what would be helpful for her spirit? No, it's too much. Okay. 8 of Wands. We have 2 8s in this. Actually, 3/8 if you're counting the strength card. Did we not have the strength card? Where did it go? No, strength is 11 here, actually. It's the midpoint. Okay. 8 of Wands. Fast communication about what? Hi everyone, I'm back again. Today is a completely different day, but I wanted to go ahead and finish this in action so that you can see the cards, the synchronicities in them. It cut me off abruptly. It was 22 on the clock. It is now, by the way, April 16th, 2021. It is a Friday evening. Where we left off was the 8 of Wands. Now, it's not just fast communication because it looks like there's stakes in the ground. And when we look at that, we can see it almost like the 8 of Swords is feeling stuck. But that's not it. This is an implication that the High Priestess that is in reversal, as well as even the Empress, which I can very much relate to, has the capability of transitioning from the combative swords energy, in general speaking, to the wands energy of fast forward movement and being productive with these wands, meaning that we're going to project forward and fast quickly. This could also mean, 8 of Wands could mean also a trip, a mini vacation, a break from this whole situation here, the toxicity of it, that dynamic. When we approach our endeavors, it's more of like a spear-like quality where it causes healing. It's baptism by fire, that healing proposed resurrecting. And it's really cool because we see the divine feminine and masculine here, the balance projected from finding our star or sun quality here, that the coast is clear in order to make that movement, that we have divine support in order for this to transpire. Because look, this is abundant, this is green. We cannot have that without the clearing here, and we have that with cosmic support. I pulled some cards when I got home, and it's 3:22 on the clock. It came with the 3 of Cups, the Knight of Cups, the Queen of Cups, and then the King of Cups. And what that looks like to me is that this definitely is a confirmation of a third party. I usually don't portray this as a third party, but when we look at this, there's so many tie-ins in here that we see the resurrection here. And that's implicated here, which is not traditional to the Rider-Waite-Smith deck meaning. So there is a resurrection from the pain involved. You see this hidden 3 of Swords here, implication that through pain we find this rebirth in filling up our own cups. And you see that also here with the Phoenix. Now the issue with that is that the Knight of Cups came alongside of it. It was actually on this side. So I think that's the reason why these ladies are turned upside down, is because the implication here is that he is fueling this mystery. This is almost like his boat. This is what he's accustomed to. And I'm not demonizing him, 4:44 on the clock, but I'm not demonizing him really, but his actions, right? The energy behind it. So, because there's a reason why he's doing what he's doing. These might be victims, bystanders, but they somehow match the energy of imbalance, and we're all meant to teach each other something here. So he's fueling all of this, almost like temperance, almost like a magician. But you can see how, almost like 5 of Pentacles energy he is in the lacking. I see that here he's almost acting as though he's a martyr. See, he's looking, his intention is to fuel this because it's spouting out to both hearts, as you can see there. And then he is the center point to resurrect, considering he's seen here. That's the masculine figure, showing his imbalance and the lack of commitment, not just to women, but to anything truly in general. Really a lack of commitment to himself. This is his good side, his like exterior. But then he has this dark quality where he indulges, and she also has a dark quality where she indulges in transactions that cheapen the concept of a bond, a genuine bond. You can see what I'm talking about, that their light is almost dimmed. They're enlightened here, but then they're not illuminated here in the entrance of a cave. So they're not going within, they're not doing the work that's required to stabilize, but they're rather standing amidst it, knowing that it needs to happen, but they just need some time to grow. When he's feeling this, he's working the system, acting as a mortar, yeah. We also see that further here, when we look at the counterparts of the masculine and feminine. Now she is also fueling this toxic relationship, as you can see further here. She's an upright. See, from her bosom, her fertility, this concept of fueling to growth, to spark something, to ignite something. We have the Two of Wands here depicted, but it was in reversal. So this is further her personified, and she's fueling this moon quality to almost balance. You see the blue and then the red. Do you see the face that she has? She knows better. She definitely knows better, but she's somewhat confused because she has two tails here, so that means that her direction is confused. She's moving in two different directions. Now, this is solely based on the context within this outline. Now, the Empress is kind of moved out of the picture, almost like the facilitator, a trigger of these events for everybody to wake up, including herself, her capabilities to move back into upright. She's feeling that, and that's her cup right there. That is what she really does want, just not sure how to get there because it's behind her. It's almost beyond her. This is what's in front of her. This is her plate right now. She does have wings. She's able to ascend from this, but this is where she's at right now. When we look at this masculine, he is not acting within his divinity. In fact, the same force that she was exerting in strength to volatility to make all of this happen, to force things to happening, there's the same force. His energy here misused. He's dropped his cup, and he's reaching for both the sun, his sun quality. Yeah, so he's on a journey too, but so this is almost like the egoic version of it, if you could see the expression on the sun's face, which is very different from this. As well as the moon feeling this. He's put this off to the wayside, and he's struggling to have the best of both worlds. In fact, he's using his sun quality in order to attract this. He knows he's got this down on lock because it mimics his expression. This is the one that's more out of reach in trying to fuel this facade. And for what Spirit wants for all of us, really, is to focus on this, the fast forward movement, because we will have divine support so long as we focus on this energy rather than the exact specifics of exactly what's going on and how to control everything, and it all gets pretty confusing. For me personally, I told you at the very end, 12:13 on the clock, that I would tell you from my perspective of what was happening, is that I was in reversal for so long, not realizing my divine feminine qualities. I understood my relation to her. This is how it was stood. That she's constantly looking over to my area. In fact, it is almost like this unification of a horizon, that one candle is almost sharing the horizon. So we're both part of each other's worlds, but I'm not realizing how abundant I was, really. As I was turning right side up, I realized, oh my goodness, I feel so suffocated by these moons. I'm feeling very suffocated by both of them, and I'm just trying to kick them away, trying to pin them down. Like, everybody just chill for a second. Just chill. That's really what you'll see, is that I kind of moved out of the background once I focused on this energy. And you can see the similarities, the trees here, as well as the trees here, that I found my sun quality. I found that. And I'm here. It's rebirthed and all of that, transformed, and now I'm in the background just observing here, right? It's part of the reunion. Whatever they decide to do, create new rules, figure things out, that we have the capabilities of doing all of this. Part of this also is that the Knight of Cups, King of Cups, okay, these characters are one of the same, but this is the true energy here, that he is trying to fuel and front this energy. Do you see that? Pouring out that kind of energy. It's the same here. I think that's really where a lot of this confusion arose. He in himself was the trigger to both of their growth, and she was a trigger to them as well. And she was a trigger also to them. It's all pretty much similar in what we're doing. It just depends on where you stand. And when I say she is a trigger to both of them, this is not like that they're standing together, but that he is realizing that's like, no, that's too much, and while she was triggering her to stand back upright. Interesting, huh? Love it. Okay, 16:52 was on the clock. I hope you found some kind of help in this. I did take a good amount of time in trying to decipher how this could help each party in the process, because that's the whole point of this, not to just lay out the cards and tell you what's happening, but to give you some perspective for growth, to problem solve alongside your peers, your kindred spirits. We already talked about kin flame relationships, which is really a massive karmic bond where we really find out that we're all friends in the end, and we're just trying to rediscover that point of return. Almost like the prodigal son. So I think that's really it. Please like and subscribe, and thank you to those that already have. I'll see you on the next one, and have a good night. Yeah, that's it for now. Bye.